Good morning and welcome to Frontiers of Knowledge segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. We are always confronted with the issue of antiviral, antibacterial products. And then what we do? We resort to antibiotics. We resort to antiviral medication. And that doesn't help. As a matter of fact, the recent pandemic has very clearly proved that the ideal antiviral is nature. Now, I'm not referring to the old concept, herbs, saying that your kitchen is the best pharmacy. Yes, that may be right, and that is right. But I'm talking of nature per se. Nature per se has a therapeutic effect on all of us, and it is the best revitalizing, recuperative, as well as life giving force. Japan is using forest bathing to a great extent to get over the various diseases. And that is something which is worth emulating, worth following. But is that enough? No. Nature, in its powerful antiviral, antibacterial capabilities, has never been appreciated the way it is being now. And the best example of that is the small series of islands, 115 islands in the Indian Ocean, the Seychelles. It's a string of 115 islands. And they're rocky islands, full of verdant beauty, turquoise water. And that series of islands, that group of islands, has a unique distinction that the 11 people fell sick. 11 people fell sick because of coronavirus. And there is not a single death. Anything more amazing? There is not a single country in the world which has reported zero death. But this country, Seychelles, has reported zero death till today, and the total number of patients who were tested positive, all of them cured, is 11. And how did they get there? They had decided that their island would protect 30% of its glittering turquoise water from commercial use. And I'm taking Seychelles as an outstanding example of how nature is the best antiviral. Now, what they did was that they safeguarded 410,000 square kilometers, which is 158 square miles of sea, that benefited wildlife on the shore and in the water, including 100,000 varieties of the giant tortoises and some of the world's last pristine coral reefs. So the biodiversity was protected and it was protected religiously. But beyond helping such species like giant tortoise, coral reef, they established new marine protected areas. And that was made possible by a very, very innovative concept of debt swap deal, that you swap your debt for protecting. You owe the money to the banks. Banks will forgive it, provided you can protect a species, a plant, like that. So that bolstered health, well-being, and prosperity. And do you know the number of tourists in Seychelles every year is 350,000 visitors they visit Seychelles every year. And they didn't stop people. Now imagine it, while every country was under lockdown, Seychelles was the only exception. They said, "You're welcome." Of course, people had to go under quarantine for a period of 21 days. They were very clear about that. They didn't want to take risk. But other thing was they had to get their clothes, their footwear sanitized. And even in this time, there were number of tourists stranded in the country. And the president, Dante, for his decision to go ahead with the protective efforts. So the public health emergency was declared as a reminder that nature is much more important to the people's physical and economic well-being. This human and economic and social consequence of the devastating global spread of coronavirus is going to last for years to come. But with the pandemics in unfolding, the most important imperative priority is to support the people who are directly affected by the virus. And this has shown that our fate, I mean, the example of such lesson, that our fate is closely linked with the health of the natural world. If nature is hurt, we would be hurt. Our relationship with the nature outside Seychelles is broken. We have cut down forests, we have overgrazed grasslands, we have built ports and roads, and expanded our cities at a rapid rate, destroying countless natural habitats. And at the same time, we trade wildlife globally, moving common and endangered species alike, and all over the world as if they're inanimate commodities. I agree there has been some protection given, but the way ivory just are still being exported from Ivory Coast, from Africa, elephants are being killed, the way the seal skins are still being used for the ladies' purses, the fur is still being removed from the animals so that ladies can wear fur gowns. All that shows that we are cut off from the nature. And the result is that we are coming closer and closer and frequent contact with the virus that spreads from the animals to the people, including COVID-19, coronavirus, and according to the scientists now, even HIV and Ebola are there because of negative interaction between nature and mankind. And that is a result of Stanford University research. The degradation of our marine ecosystem causes blooms of pathogens that cause diseases like cholera. Cholera is not only because of the bad food, but the bloom of the pathogens that is caused by the degradation of the marine ecosystem. But the good news is that the people are waking up, as the example of such is so that a genuine leadership is capable enough of taking innovative action for the good of the people. And that action ultimately proves that the time comes when you break the link between creation, nature, and mankind. And that is a time of disaster. So there's a need to formulate action plans that are nature focused. And the better, sooner we do it, the better it would be. Because there's a fear that the next pandemic is around the corner. And the second wave of coronavirus is darkening the horizon. So before those tragedies recur, if we can focus on nature, on protecting nature, on establishing bonds with nature, then there's a hope of survival. We have to formulate strategies that include conserving ecosystems and wildlife, wilderness. We don't need urbanization today, we need more wilderness. And the more wilderness untouched by the human activity, we need to clamp down on the wildlife trade, including educating people about the risk of consuming wildlife. And most important, restoring and protecting significant areas of land and ocean. The way oceans have been defiled by the plastics, the way the earth has been denuded is something shocking. As a matter of fact, the world already has 15% of its land and 7% of the ocean unfit for human life as well as for the wildlife. 15% of the land and 17%. There's a need to reclaim this land and reclaim this part of ocean for the sake of our health, for the sake of our prosperity. We have got to do more. Indeed, there's an increasing agreement among the intelligent people, among the enlightened leaders, that we need to return half the planet to the nature and use the other half responsibly. And that means that we have to start protecting at least 30% of the planet by 2030. So, one decade from today should be the end goal, that by 2030, 30% of the land area and 30% of the ocean would be fully protected from the commercial use. The result would be nature and people would benefit. We have seen that abundant animal, plant, insect, and microbes living in complex mature ecosystems limit the spread of disease from animals to man. And 90% of the viruses are result from animal to man interaction than man to man interaction. But natural places can do much more than provide a safety net against illness. That's important. It's not only that they'll protect, but they are much more than that. They'll shield you from the extreme weather, safeguard you from the pollution caused by you, supply you with food, medicine, and layer opportunities. Now look at India. It was a curious thing, one after the other, as I put in my note today. We had coronavirus, then came the cyclone, and then the heat wave. All three coming one after the other shows that the link with nature was broken. The settlers have depended on land and sea for their income food. Fishing employs 17% of their workforce and provides the population with low cost, sustainable source of protein. But then overfishing can be bad. Tourism, which is concentrated on the Seychelles coastline, is driven by the natural beauty, not for ravaging but for enjoyment. So that should be the purpose. If you are fishing, ensure that the stock is replenished as well. And the ecotourism is given more preference than the commercial tourism. You have got to ensure that the fully protected areas are not insidiously invaded by harmful activities. You have got to ensure that the natural places, pristine beauties, in addition to the seas, mangroves, forests, seagrass beds, and salt marshes can ensure that the world remains what it was meant to be, the Garden of Eden. Hopefully, when the worst of pandemic has passed and we embark on the hard work of nursing its people, the society and economy back to health, we do not overlook the need to care for nature and let nature care for us. This interaction is going to be of mutual benefit. A healthy environment is our best antiviral and it protects more of it to help us rebound from the pandemic and stop the next pandemic from coming. If we can do that, then we can hope for salvation. And as I said, the best antiviral is nature itself. Protect it, safeguard it, establish connection with it, and you are safe. Thank you.